I felt like I didn't belong until I found my inner truth. Hi, my name is Mei, and I am your host of this podcast. I want to invite you on this spiritual journey to find love, acceptance, inner truth, and a sense of belonging, in spite of a multicultural background. Let's get together and overcome our issues with labels and stop trying to fit in boxes that were not made for us. Let's stop looking at what makes us different and see what brings us together without losing our authenticity. If you like the podcast, please give it a 5-star rating. This will give more people the opportunity to find us, or share it with someone who will benefit of it. Today, I'm so happy to share this wonderful interview with you that I was able to make on Hawaii with my Hawaiian teacher, Kumu Mahealani. We had so much fun, and I hope you have a lot of fun and inspiration as well. So let's dive right into it and have a lot of fun listening. I'm just gonna get started. Servus, people. I'm so happy to have this chance to interview my dear Kumu, my first real Hawaiian teacher. Kumu is teacher in Hawaiian, and maybe to get started, usually people in Hawaii call their kumus either kumu or auntie, right?
Yes. Yep.
Or anake. Mm-hmm. That's another
name
that I've learned as well.
Yeah. Anake is kind of a more familiar, and also it's very aloha for people to refer to their wiser elders, so to speak, with that anake. Anake meaning auntie. Yeah.
Maybe we should get started with can you tell in your words who you are and what you do?
Well, I'm a Kumu Ilele Ona Kupuna. Kumu Ilele Ona Kupuna means teacher, source, messenger for the ancestors. And that's exactly what I do. I consider myself a spiritual messenger for the ancestors. And I should also say that includes the human side of things as well. Yeah. So, and let's see, we met on this 14-day.
28. I did the big one.
Yeah, you did. She did the 28-day intensive internship. Although
it was intensive.
Yeah. But, one of the things that I really enjoy doing is being able to help people, especially those who have an inkling, who really feel that there is some connection to their greater selves. They just don't identify it that way, So we call it the spiritual greatness, or uhane nui. And that's so that we can help you to recognize your true identity. And as my grandpa used to always say, true identity, iammei kai, meaning very good, pono, the excellence, the identity is who we truly are. And I like to say before we come on the planet, before the journey is made to come here. And that somehow or another, for many of us, we were birthed into and here it comes, a fault-finding society. Okay? Fault-finding society. So that right there just gives you the acknowledgement, if you will, that not everything that you think of is, that form of fear or, reason for your own self to be at fault, etc., etc. And no, you're not. We just all happen to be part of, for generations, part of what we call fault-finding society. That's the easiest modern-day term that I can think of. In my grandfather's words, it would be, "Aue pilikia." Aue pilikia. And that means, too bad, too sad, born in that troublesome space, and where the society, and I have to say this, it wasn't a part of my society per se. I was one of the fortunate ones. I happened to have elders, such as my grandfather and such as my mother as well, who helped from the very beginning of my birth, actually, helped to give me the tools that they felt was pono. Pono meaning the divineness and rightness of how to look at things. And so I was raised with more of that kind of childhood, you might say. So to find yourself at faults is to say that then you agree with the society upon you, In other words, if you're told that you're not too good looking, you're ugly, you're this or you're that,
too skinny, too fat.
Yeah.
Not intelligent enough.
Not intelligent enough. Why can't you be like, that's the cosmic joke, is why can't you be like everybody else, So it's really, I know we're laughing about it, but in truth, when you resonate with the truth of that, then yes, you can, and you will. You'll laugh about it because it really is, something that perhaps you were raised with, and your family, your parents. They're not to blame either. Really, they're not.
They were taught the same way.
Yes, they were taught the same way. So here we have this chance, this opportunity to change things up a little bit, to find out what's really going on and to have the tools that help make those changes in one's habit and to become more conscious, to wake up.
To wake up to the whole thing. Yeah, even me, for me, I'm laughing at it with you right now because I know what you mean, but I'm also well aware of that I'm still in the process, I'm still, because I'm turning 40 this year, and having 40 years of that, like you say, fault-finding society influenced me. Yep. And now knowing that I don't need them to influence me anymore, or that I can choose not to be influenced anymore.
You can join the chuckle.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, but I also know, it's a process where you have to go through.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the reasons why your program is also necessary. I would even say I would suggest anybody who's thinking about it is really, I would suggest do at least a minimum of 3 weeks. I would suggest.
Well, it does take 21 days to change habits.
That's why I'm actually saying that on one hand, but also because we were talking about it earlier. In the end, the essence is very easy, or not easy, but can be explained in maybe a couple of hours or a day. Yeah. But really integrating it in yourself and your being, it's so good to have an auntie next to you. And that's why I love the internship program where you can actually, live in with your kumu, with your teacher.
And we're the only ones doing this.
and having your kumu go like, stop saying that. Don't say
Oops.
that. Or, hey,
we invite you.
Yeah, I invite you to say, I used to, instead of I have a problem. Or things like that. So that's pretty good. Yeah. But it's like you said, it's a couple of tools that we get to integrate that teaching, that learning.
And living with the kumu doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt at all. I have to admit, I was a little afraid because I'm with my true introvert personality, but I think we did it good.
Oh yeah.
For 4 weeks, I think we managed pretty well.
Because there's so much that one doesn't know. It hasn't been brought up into the consciousness, to realize some of these things that are so important to the change of old habits, to the loving self, you know, because a lot of us don't even think about what? Me, love me? No, I'm too busy, you know. Oh, I've got this going on, I've got that going on. So my mind is constantly elsewhere, constantly working on things that seem to be priorities. And then we forget the true essence of self. And so we hope like heck we can still do the rescue, you know?
And get the reminder. Yeah, and I think, that's why it's so good to really be taken out of your comfort zone and, to just be in a different space.
Yes.
To experience all this and then take it back and, with whatever. For me, it's so interesting because to me it feels like it's the circle closing up from the moment that the Hawaiian philosophy came crawling into my life, and because it started off slowly and then it sort of like spiraled into the whole thing. And because of my personal identity crises through my I mean, to me, I think one part was, it's not just that, but one part was the multicultural part about it.
Yeah.
And the search for my true self, and now I'm finding myself here on the verge where my project, my podcast, Multicultural, Spiritually from the Stars, I mean, the idea started to be born a couple of months ago, but now it's sort of like, it was in my womb, and now I came here to, how do you say, bring it into life?
To really activate what you felt, and now to bring it into the physicalness. Yes.
Yeah, but what I meant is that my project was born here on Hawaii, but before it was able to be born, it was like I needed one last step to do.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
This last step, I felt like that's when you come in, because it was so crazy how I was brought here. I mean, I've never booked a trip that was so far away in such a short notice. Within a week, I had spoken with you, decided, okay, I have to come here in January. And then within a week, I was on a plane on the way here.
Yeah,
so,
that's true. That was really following some kupuna engineering, as I would call it.
Yeah, definitely.
Some ancestral engineering.
Yeah,
that designed that.
Definitely, and then especially put together with Doris and you know, us clicking together so perfectly.
Yes.
But
you were chosen to be here at that time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what I find so amazing is that, like you, and now this is the part that you just said, actually just remembering.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things I feel that I had to not only be reminded, but also give, like I knew and I wanted, but I wasn't given permission. I was waiting for someone to give me the permission.
Yeah.
And I feel like now I know that I didn't need to wait for anybody to give me permission. I just needed to get going.
Yeah, you yourself. Yes.
And that's the true essence of remembering or reminding ourselves of who we are.
Yeah. Well, it's that wake-up call.
Yeah.
It's that wake-up call, you know. It's very interesting because from my viewpoint, it's about activating, you know, what I'm doing in presenting the internship, really. I mean, some people said, "Are you kidding, Kumu? That's 24/7, and they're going to live with you? Oh, my God, and you don't know these people?" See, there's where we say it's hili nai. It's just being in trust, and doing the service that you're supposed to do. So, yeah, of course, you know. I didn't come up with the idea. Actually, it's an old tradition. In my ohana, in my family, in our Hawaiian, in our kanaka maoli. This is the way we used to do it anyway. You always had a haumana, a student or two or three or whoever, and you know. And you believed in the fact that when they showed up at your door, they were meant to be there. They were meant to be there. So going with that rather than any other human judgments on it, hey, it's going to work, of course. Because it isn't my program per se, and I've said this how many times, it's not my program. I am just following what some people call, the spiritual cookie crumbs. I love that. Spiritual cookie crumbs, yes. I'm following the way of the ancestors. I'm following the ancient voyagers, if you will, and just going with it. Because, yes, there has been a time or two where I'll say, okay, all right, well, this is not my program, so, okay, I need a little bit more of that tool for this person, this particular person, or whatever, yeah? And I'll just toss it back to them. I'll say, hey, Kavunas, this is your program, hello, where do we go from here, And I'll be darned. Evidence of aloha, evidence of proof of the existence of spirit and spirituality, etc. Brings it right back into the doors. And something will come out and it'll be, oh my God, that's the right, oh geez, I didn't realize that, and I'm going, oh, yeah, thanks. Thanks, Ann. Mahalo. Yeah, because everybody, I believe, that have chosen and are chosen to find me, they will, So yes, I do welcome the fact that they actually get here. And it's so interesting too, because there's a lot of the old program too that's still running, even though they feel it in what we call the na'au. The na'au is the midsection, is the core of the body. And they feel it, and they know they're supposed to be here, but they stop themselves. And they go, because old stuff, okay? From the minute they say, yes, I'm going to do it. And then it's like, how can you afford it? No, you can't do this. Oh, yeah.
I don't even want to tell you the process that I went through. I had a whole night I couldn't sleep because I was like, no, this is going to be too much money. And because, I'm not talking about just your training, because it's the whole,
And
getting
mine
a plane
isn't
ticket.
when
Yours isn't the biggest. It's really,
No.
Coming here, renting a car, having overnight stays maybe somewhere and everything.
That's awful.
But that's what I would also say to whoever is thinking about doing something like this. It's so wonderful to watch yourself in resistance, because that's basically the resistance that's trying to go against things and
keep you in the unconscious.
Yeah and it's so wonderful but so ugly at the same time, because you see yourself resisting, but I think it's also part of the letting go process.
Yes,
because you resist, and then there comes this, that you get more and more moments of completely clearness, and like you're so connected in that moment, and everything is fine. So the next time this wave of resistance comes up, it's like, okay, it's there, and you're gonna go through, but that there's this clarity right behind it. So that's and I think everybody has to go through that, right?
Yes.
I don't know.
Pretty much.
I've only been speaking to Doris, so we were sharing, but
no, pretty much, really, there is, because let's face it, most people are brought up in that fear-based society, fear and fault-finding society, of course. So there's always going to be that limitation, that's going to call upon you, which I understand it totally. It took a journey for me too. Sure, that part didn't come automatically with the Hawaiian package, by the way. Because back in the day, we bartered with shells. Today, oh boy, not so. I can't go to a gas station and give them shells. just doesn't work. I don't know. Different societies, you know. But I purposely, too, made it to where the cost factors for my workshop includes the accommodations. Because it's tough enough, I think, just getting here anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know? So I really feel that my work, as well as yours, by the way, dear, has a lot to do with helping others. But while at the same time, you know, we want to see this greatness come to everyone that chooses to identify themselves with their greatness. Okay? And we would like that to come. However, at the same time, we realize too that you just can't give it away either. Because the treasure then is not. You know, I learned that a couple of times the hard way.
And I think that part also, again, going back to at least for my, you know, like reasoning of the whole thing, has also a lot to do with the self-worth.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, in
boy.
both ways. On one hand, for me, being a coach, or for just take an artist, like if they have to put a price on the piece they just created, right?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, also allowing yourself to have this gift of an internship.
Yes. Oh,
you know, even if it has a certain price, it's you giving yourself this price,
this treasure of
this
you.
worth of allowing yourself to, you know, be in that space and gifting yourself with that, you know.
It is. It really is. Well, you know that for a fact, having gone
gone
through
the whole process. I mean, on both sides. On one side, being able to allow myself to actually put some worth into the work that I'm doing, but on the other hand, also allowing myself to be worth of, you know, making this trip around the world to be here and to become reminded.
That's it.
You
We're
know?
not reinventing something. We're just reconnecting to it.
Exactly.
To who we truly are, you know. Yeah. We are all spirit, all, like my grandfather would say, we are all in the same canoe. Okay? It's just that some of us, we have the paddle to paddle the canoe, but we're not too sure if we're supposed to paddle.
Wait, this way or that way?
Yeah, right.
Which way do I go?
And then there's some who say paddle.
What is that?
Yeah, right.
Can I eat that?
Can I eat that? And then, of course, the mother goes, oh, that. Well, I tossed it, I don't know, back here somewhere. It's in the ocean now. You know.
Can I go with my hands?
Yeah, right. Will these do? So, you know, yeah, that's it, you know. But I just love the evidence. You guys have been able to collect a lot of evidence of alohas.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
In fact, didn't you have to go to YPO? You were called to YPO twice.
Yes. Well, once was, I think, more for Doris. For me, it was more creating, for that day, I think I started creating my world. You know, I started
using some of the tools.
To start creating where I want to go.
Yeah.
What I want to do.
Your purpose.
My purpose.
Yeah. Your kiakai. Yeah.
And I think the second time was sort of like to manifest that. Actually, I think that was like the manifestation. You know, like the first time was more like having the idea being born.
Yeah.
And the second time was, no, I think I got it. I think the second time that I was called to VIPO was actually a little test to prove to my inner guidance and to myself that I'm actually listening.
Oh, that's a good one. Yes, we invite you to lohemai.
Yeah, listen to us.
Closely.
Okay. And I went, and it was beautiful. It was a little bit weird because I don't know why there were so many helicopters watching the beach. Because I didn't find the guard anymore to ask him.
Oh, okay.
But other than that, I saw the wild horses that live in Waipio Valley, which is wonderful. I was gifted their mana. And I had a wonderful moment with the pohakus, with the stones that are right there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the guardians of the
Yes.
ocean.
Guardians of the ocean.
They allowed me to step on them, actually, to walk around and just sit with them. And then, actually, yeah, a lot of things happened there while I was listening.
Yeah.
I didn't see the cardinal birds anymore.
Uh-huh.
I didn't see those again. But,
Well, see, that's what I forgot to tell you, is that it goes beyond my house.
yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
really does. All of this island, especially, is such geez, we have over 37, what is it, 37, I think the scientists were saying, that climatic conditions, blah, 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 blah. But even the depth, the spirit of the land here.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. It will show you things or have you feel the essence of it, you know. So really, my house is just, you know, where you're accommodated at, you know. It's a good base. But really, you go out and you gain the experiences and then bring it back and we all discuss it.
Yeah.
Now that's juicy.
Yeah, and that's also part of the, you know, being able to do those little adventures.
Yeah.
But I think
because you're not in an ashram.
Yeah, but I think that's the part about the second time I went to Waipio, because I feel like it was like a little test, because tomorrow I'm flying back.
Yes, that's right.
And everything that I learned here while I was staying with you, it was good because you were sort of holding my hand.
Oh, yeah.
But now I had to walk by myself.
Sort of. You were gripping me. She has a strong grip. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, after I left you, I had to start walking by myself.
Yes.
And I think that's
absolutely.
why Waipio Valley the second time was more like, hey, I was called, I listened, you know, I went, I walked.
Yeah.
While I was walking, I followed, you know, followed the calling of recording some of the podcast episodes.
Yes. And
Yeah,
they
and I
helped
listened.
you
Yeah.
to set up what you are on the path for anyway.
Exactly. And get the ideas,
my
and you know,
God.
see, it was. That's why I think the whole thing of, and now that I'm telling you, that's why it's beautiful that I'm allowed to tell you about it. You know, the horses, the pohakus.
Oh, yes.
There was a wedding down
forest.
there. You know, and for me, always, even though I'm not part of the whole wedding thing, but I mean, being there in the moment
In
where
the
there's
ambiance
these
of
people,
it. Yeah.
I was taking pictures, and then someone came by and was like, "Oh, you see something we don't see," and I'm like, "Well, no, I'm doing this," and then show him the pictures, and I'm like, "Wow, so you do this professionally?" Again, you remember, like,
yes,
when you were saying,
yes.
and I know that the pictures are one, you know, side where I live
Part
my
of-
creativity.
Yes, you do.
And I like doing that, and that's also one of the. I think it also happened. I'm not sure if during Waipio or after, but the decision to actually even put my pictures out there.
Oh yeah,
You know?
yeah. That's right.
But those are like little
Snippets
of
of your tracking of
Yeah.
where your purpose is too.
exactly, and yeah, and I think the whole concept, like the whole.
Which
day
I
was a
don't
good
think you
thing.
really expected that, did you, when you first came here? Thinking, oh, well, you're going to learn something. But
How do I put it?
Yeah.
I have to say that I felt that a last key was missing that I needed for my project, being for my new project that I'm creating with multicultural, and because it's not just the podcast, it's going on
Sure.
with now it's still being born, but the idea of a
Yeah.
online conference,
Yeah,
online
yeah.
summit,
Yeah.
you know,
Your life's
and maybe
work.
and
Yeah.
and for the future creating a community
Exactly.
for the multicultural people. So and it felt like, because I wanted to get started with this now in January, February, March, because my family's moving, you know, and I know I want to help my family with their
Sure.
moving. But then also I'm turning 40 this year, and
Yep.
I'd like to celebrate that, my 40
Yeah.
years on this planet, celebrate them
Yeah.
somewhere at the beach. So I won't be able to help my family. So
Yep.
I have to have everything done before that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do that project, and basically the original idea was you do work January and February on my project and come here to Hawaii in March. That was the
That's
original idea, because it
true.
would have given me 2 months and some time to earn a little bit, putting it from that side of having fear of the money. But when you wrote to me, I have no availability for March.
Yep.
And you can come in January if you want to. It was like,
Yeah, that's really like, ooh, do I release myself to this? Do I trust this?
exactly.
Yeah.
And
Do I
for the
trust
things that have
calling?
happened the last 2 years, whenever I did trust, always something good has happened. So I felt like, even though I went through the fear, even though it was really not easy, and
Yeah.
but I'm grateful on one hand for myself to have had so many fears already
Yeah.
behind me, to know, even though they exist, even though I know they're there somehow,
Yeah.
I can still keep on walking. They're not going
To
to
the
keep me away
spiritual.
from
Yep.
doing certain things.
As a matter of fact, I would venture to say that also, in addition to you being here at that, what we say ikaponomea, right timing, right place, right being, that maybe originally January, February wasn't the right one for you because you were, you had some fear factors on that. So, of course, you're not going to feel like that's the right timing, But that's the other part of the priorities, and that which opens for us, opens the doors, is so that we are able to get rid of, or at least, just jump over that fear anyway.
Yeah, and I think also that's one part. That's what like I was saying, the key that I needed to start my project.
Yes.
Is because if I've learned, like I said, I did know how to deal with some of my fears.
Sure, absolutely.
But I felt that there was still
Some reservations.
something holding me back that I couldn't grasp. Now, after the 4 weeks, I know that it was part of, like I said, being allowed to do what I have to do.
Yeah.
Allow myself to
Allow yourself.
just follow my heart, to follow or my soul purpose, which I'm doing right now, and it just feels good because I know it's going into the right direction.
And so the last project they opened the door for you gave you 52 weeks in your transition of your projects.
Yeah.
That key.
Yeah.
Wow. That key that you were sort of fearful about, whether you'd be able to complete it.
No,
or
I think
gain
no,
it,
no. I
or-
think it wasn't that part.
Okay.
I think what was, I was holding back on my creativity.
Ah,
I would
Right.
have impulses, ideas, inspirations, but I wouldn't do them.
yeah. Well, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
It could be a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I understand it. But that is the part of you that still, the ancestors, as I call them, and I call our guides ancestors because I resonate with the fact that, one, not only am I a part of that world as well as here, we're spiritually
multidimensional beings.
Yeah. I love that word. Yes, we are. And so the fact that we do that anyway, has been very helpful for me to be able to go, okay, let's see, original to this program. Okay, hey, I know what I know, and that really limits me right now. So therefore, I'm going to go with the ancestors, And to me, the ancestors are those that have walked this planet before. They've struggled. They've lived the lives that,
they went through challenges as well.
Lot.
And I mean,
Huge.
thanks to their challenges, we are allowed to live in a world that's a little bit has a little bit more freedom than they did 50 years ago.
Absolutely, right? Or even
or
beyond
100
that.
years ago.
Yeah, past my age anyway. Just thought
something like that.
Say.
But one of the things that I would like to ask you for our listeners out here, because you're speaking of the ancestors, I truly believe in that the ancestors are incredibly important to us to know where we come from. But I also think that it's important for us to become our individual selves. So how do I find my way from being respectful with my ancestors, but still allow myself to become my own individual person? Being.
Well, the first number one thing that pops up is turn the mana'o off. Just let it stand aside while you yourself walk through this multi-dimensional tasking, shall we say. Okay? So
mana'o being the mind.
The mind, yeah. Turn the mind off because it can only give you back what it knows. And I believe when it comes to ancestors, etc., we're sort of going out there, And the mana'o doesn't have the recordings of that simply because our own awakeness is just coming back to us, you see. So the mana'o doesn't have enough of that experience fed into the files. Okay, so it can't give you anything other than fear. Or that, oh my God, how do you know it's going to work? On and on, with that program, because it has that program, okay? So that's why I say turn that off.
And also because, sorry to intervene in that, because I think in a lot of cultures, we don't have the culture of seeing the good of our ancestors.
Exactly.
So I have the programming, whatever comes from them is not good.
Exactly. And really and truthfully, they were still a part of the good, okay? Which is what Ho'oponopono Keala is all about. Ho'opono means making good or making divine or, making the rights. Pono, more right. Keala is the path. So we are not rooted in the wrongness of things, not even a little bit. We are rooted, the belief system is rooted in the Aloha Spirit, okay? So with that in mind is how we can, just as simple as whatever you want to call it, but we just simply turn the mana'o off because we understand that it has just a limited amount of experiences in the files.
And because of that, it's judgmental. And basically the idea is to get out of the judgment.
Exactly.
And just not judge. It's the
Exactly.
way, whatever happened was the way it is.
Yes.
But it was necessary for today, for this moment to happen.
Yes.
As it is happening right now.
Yes. And by the way, as you know, and as I pointed this out also, the thing that's really popular, from what I understand going on, in somebody's Ho'oponopono program, that they've taken this part of the Hawaiian system and based it into their idea, and they call it forgive me, I'm sorry, all of that. Well, that's like basing the program into fear.
Mm-hmm.
See what I mean? Because it was never meant to even do that. It's meant to be in aloha. So we work with the energies, and the energies is about the rightness of things. Okay? So I'm not saying that forgiveness and I'm sorry doesn't have its own mantra place that it needs to be at. I think it's valuable myself. But please do not incorporate it into a system that we do not have. Go ahead and put it in its own system because it belongs in its system. It has its own merits. And so therefore, for those who choose to be there with the I'm sorry's, blah, 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 please, yes, feel free. But don't call it the Hawaiian words that you don't understand. It's like, talking about your language or anybody else's language and tweaking it to make it fit some mantra, and you'll excuse me, so that they can sell more, market that program. Hey, Hawaii is hot. We understand that. But I'm saying, especially for people who are not sure about the Ho'oponopono Keala program, please, Ho'oponopono is not meant to be in that fixture of forgiveness. That has its own merits, and it's valuable, and it's treasurable for those who need to have it. Yes, absolutely. I totally aloha that.
I think, if I may, my experience, because the first Ho'oponopono that I learned was the Ho'oponopono, the forgiveness one.
Oh, okay.
And it did help me a lot with a lot of things, but it always felt like there was something missing, because for me, only 4 phrases didn't make a whole, for me it was, Ho'oponopono felt more like it had to be a lifestyle, a way of living.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
And that's one of the things that got confirmation when I got here, basically, because
yes.
for myself, because I realized it's not about forgiveness. I mean, what I needed from that part was seeing how whatever is inside of me is reflected to the outside. That's what I learned from that side.
Yes.
And what was missing for me was the part that I don't need forgiveness. That the actual thing that was way more important was acceptance.
Yes. That's right.
So,
and that's called apono. There you go.
And not only, and that's where it goes deeper, and where I recommend everybody come over here and do an internship if you can. But it's also the acceptance of who we truly are.
Yeah.
Without any labels, or using labels not to put us in boxes, but maybe to help us understand ourselves better. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
But not allowing ourselves to know that in the Aloha Spirit, we are whatever we decide to be in that moment, whatever we decide to create in that moment.
That's a good part of it. And the fact that we will create the best thing ever once we identify with who we truly are.
Exactly.
We're spirit. And we come from spirit greatness. So,
and I love how that makes the circle again to the ancestors that we just did, because it helps us to know where we come from, where our roots are, right?
Exactly.
Who influenced us in both ways, because it's not just where I come from, but also who influenced us. And that's one of the things that I love about Hawaii so much, because not only being the Hawaiian people very open to so many influences, but also being able to integrate so many different cultures. I mean, we have influence from China, Filipinos, Mexicans.
Absolutely.
Let me not forget anymore. Japanese. There's so many Japanese, Portuguese people.
Multicultural. The melting pot.
What I love. What was the one with the teriyaki sauce? Was it fish?
Oh God, yeah, the fish.
Really delicious. A typical Hawaiian dish made with teriyaki sauce. And for
Japanese, by the way.
Japanese sauce. And that was for me like, wow, that's how integration actually works. That's how being aloha with all the different cultures works because you also invite the different
Yes.
cultures.
Yeah.
So you become together. You create a new culture, basically.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, even the language, even from the days of the cane fields and all of that, you know, when they had to bring in the labor force to work the cane and the pineapple fields because the Hawaiians wouldn't do it. And it wasn't that we were lazy, it was just that we moved with nature. Nature, okay? The body said you don't work in the hot sun. That's what my grandfather used to always say. No, you preserve the body so you can hana work later, you know? So during the heat of the day, no, that only weakens your body. That's against nature. So because of that, they had to go get people from elsewhere, yeah? So, okay, the good thing is those immigrants came and they came to a land that they ended up loving also. And so they gave us the best that they could also, you know, and we became a society. And of course, with the Aloha Spirit, that helped melt everything together. But when you talk about even a language, I mean, even a language was created for the multi, you know, for all of us, because we all became multicultural, you know. So we have a language called Pidgin.
Oh yeah, I love that very much.
And everybody
Sometimes it reminds me a
understands
little bit of Caribbean English, by the way.
it. There you go.
Which is
There you
also a
go.
melting pot
Yes.
of
yes,
you know
yes,
the original
yes.
islanders and the African influence and the Spanish and
Yeah. So just like earlier when we were speaking about that, you know, it's like my grandfather used to always say, we're all in the same canoe. We're all in the same va'a, you know. Some forget the paddle, some don't know, yay, but we're all in the same, you know. So when you talk about multi-mixing, multicultural and all of that, yeah, here we always already had that going on way before, you know, because the first boatloads of people that came from all these different areas, you know, that today still live here, you know, generations later, call this home,
yeah.
is from, like they say, the Philippines, from China, Japan, you know, wherever in the world. And they all melted together here with a cultural respect for each other's culture, as well as mixing it, as well as, hey, you just like me, we speak the same language, yeah, us so together. That's
Like
how-
the slippers.
The
That's a Japan.
slippers.
That's another. I think the Hawaiians like the Japanese very much.
Oh yeah, very much.
But we have the you can't enter a Hawaiian house without taking off your shoes, even if it's just your flip flops, your slippers.
Yep.
Because then that's something that came from the Japanese culture.
Yes.
And it's
that's
good
the
because it keeps the
respect.
houses clean. I like it.
Yeah. Well, Kanaka Maoli, like myself, we didn't have slippers. I mean, we could make the tea leaf shoes kind covering, but we was used to walking all over on the tough lava rocks and all that, because the buildup of our skin below, hey, that was like tough sandals, you know.
Someone told me it's called island feet.
Oh yeah. My own feet is like the honu. I get honu feet, you know, because honu is the turtle. That's our aumakua, our animal god, you know. And so when I go swimming, I don't need fins. My feet is flat and yeah. And I can go akula, you know.
I think
yeah.
I have Honu feet
Scuba divers, yeah.
too. I have to try it next time. I'm gonna go in without fins.
Yeah, the thing goes speedy, you know. So
I
hey,
actually saw someone without fins scuba diving.
oh,
I
I'm
was-
sure of it.
Not scuba diving, snorkeling. And I'm like,
Snorkeling, absolutely.
does that work too?
Yeah, because before days you never have that kind. Yes, so you know, whatever you had, that's what you had. You know. Yeah. So earlier, as you were mentioning, multicultural, I kind of had to giggle because I thought, well, welcome to the world. Because here in the
That's what it
islands,
is,
that's what we all are here and manage to live here together. And why? Because it's based in the aloha. It really is. It's based in the aloha.
And allows everybody to just be
Allowed everybody. Yeah, I mean, and I'm not saying that's the, we got the perfect world. Oh, gosh. No tell nobody. But
No, how do we put it? I mean, all places have their ups and downs.
oh,
to it, 'cause
absolutely.
How,
Absolutely.
like you were saying earlier, we have a mana'o.
Yeah.
All of us, we're humans, and
Yep.
we all have our human sides. But
Yes.
I think it's a nice example, like that's why I told you that I'm attracted to those special places. And now that I'm thinking about it, if we see the Caribbean as a melting pot as well, and then there's Bali, there's so many
Yes.
islands on that side as well that have
Count
different
them,
cultures.
yes.
And they all have volcanoes.
Yeah. Wow. What is the same? The same energies?
Apparently, or similar
Similar energies.
many moving energies.
And-
Maybe I'm gonna be watching that. 'Cause I think
Yes.
maybe I'll see a little bit more of that in my travels.
Isn't that what it's all about? Is that we become, the oneness that we were
Yeah,
before the continents broke up? We were in the oneness.
yeah.
All of us were all joined. We were speaking one language, etc., etc. And as a matter of fact, the astronauts that have said, I read the papers and whatnot, and they were saying that once you get up so many miles out into the universe, above the Earth, what you see is a beautiful blue planet. And when you're looking at the land, you don't see any borders. You say, oh, Australia or whatever, don't come here, Kapu, stay out, You don't see any of that. Where is these borders? Man made them.
Yeah.
And
They're all creation.
they're
of,
all creation
of somebody's
man's-
mana'o,
Yeah, that's right.
and then being given off to the others.
That's right.
To believe
That's
it.
right. Well, that's why I often think about what our queen said, our queen Liliuokalani, and she was so great when she said this. She said that, the time of the overthrow and when she was placed in prison in the palace, she said to her people, at that time, she said, do not take up, her request was that none of her people, none of us take up anything to fight back. No spears, no nothing. Of course, that's all we had, so we would have been annihilated anyway, you know what I mean?
That would have been a genocide.
Oh, definitely. But she was, wise enough about that, and she also said that no blood is to be spilt for my people for the sake of land. I mean, that was like unheard of, because most every countries back then, they take everybody and you go to war and you fight for the land. Oh, well, too bad if you're not here and survive, but too bad, you still get out there and, But for her, no.
That's one of the things that we also talked about that I like very much about how the Hawaiian philosophy doesn't celebrate war, and how that exists in so many other countries.
Well, when the ancient voyagers, there's a mo'olelo, one of our story
songs.
times, that my grandfather was relating back to me when I was little. He said that back in those times, there was so much interfighting, in the Pacific Islands and the Polynesian Islands and stuff, so that there was the small clusters of people that would come together, and their thing was to be as peaceful as possible, as we possibly can, until, because in accordance to them, the ancestors would answer. by letting them know where the next landfall is. Okay? So one day we would find islands beyond the clouds. And that became the mantra, if you will, that there would be islands beyond the clouds. Yeah? So the story goes that these two brothers who were in charge of the feeding the village, yeah? So they would go and catch the fish and all of this kind of stuff, day after day, year after year. But each of them knew, because they were told, that one day you'll hear the whispers that will come and tell you there are islands beyond the clouds. And when that happens, then you'll let the village know, yeah? And then canoes will be made and launched and will go way up north to the islands beyond the clouds. So long as we kept in that vibrational energy. See, it was all about energy. Because like even our speaking, okay, to verbalize something was considered the fourth method of communication. Okay, with many cultures, that's the first, right? For us, it was the fourth method of communication. That's why even today, I mean, our when they phonetically put it down as A, B, C, or D, they found that we only had 12 letters. 12 letters. 13 if you count the okina, that little comma, yeah? But 12 letters.
I remember that, yeah.
Okay? When you think about it, there's not a whole lot of words you can make out of 12 letters. Not in the comparison of many other cultures, okay? So that also is an indication that the Kanaka Maoris didn't really use language to communicate with. We did not use the verbal, yeah? So you have to go back, okay? What was it that the Kanaka Maoris used as their language? Well, mental telepathy, which, by the way, was a language all over the world. Yeah, and according to my grandfather,
all of us.
We were all of one.
us.
We were all of one. We were all of nature. Nature to this day, the animals to this day, still mental telepathy. Look at yourself, for instance, if you have a pet, okay? You are talking, yes, maybe you are talking to that pet. But that pet is more than picking up what your thoughts are and your feelings are.
Hold on 1 second. I just need to check the computer. But I have to tell you something to that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just checking if it's still recording. No,
So it's still recording.
yes it is.
Okay, well, let me finish this up, okay?
Oh, yeah.
So there we are. We're all in that mental telepathy place in being, as is everything in nature. Everything in nature runs that way. And then the second method of communication was through facial.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you know that one because, maybe your mom gave you the look, as we call, and we know.
She didn't need any words.
Right. And we probably do that with our friends, our brothers and sisters, right? Okay, we all have that commonality. We haven't gone that far from the tree.
No.
So that would be the third method, is the body language. And then, and also there's sound too, which actually is right in there too. And that is the grunts and the groans. Hey, you want to go to the movie? Yeah. We still do that. That's sounds,
True.
And then you get to the verbal,
Yeah.
you see. But because of that.
Interesting, yeah.
Yes. Because of that, though, many times, that's why they can't really incorporate the Hawaiian language into the box of the English translations, okay? Because the English is more word for word. It describes everything, okay? the Hawaiian language is more symbolic. Yeah. So we can say things like, if we would say something, maybe a word, and that word could stand for as many other meanings too. It just depends who's speaking, who's listening, and what the topic was about. Usually this is where the aloha would come in. If two Kanakas are speaking and someone just comes in, that usually that third party will just wait and listen and then kind of hear the stream and then feel the stream of that conversation, and then they can get in. But there's always a pause. You won't see them just jump in. Yeah, because one, it's respect. Two, you don't really know what they're talking about until you're there for a pause or two. Yeah. See?
I think it's interesting because it shows being mindful in that moment.
Totally.
Because you never know if you're interrupting something important.
Totally. Whereas with the rest of the world, I've noticed, having been all over myself, people will just snap in whatever their mind is, blah, blah, they'll spit it out, and then they go, oh, well, I thought you were talking about that. No. But thanks for that. I think.
I have to think of my fellow Latin Americans. We love to be very emotional and fast talking. So, but I think it's not just them. I think like you said, it exists but in a lot of other cultures.
Before I forget, getting back to your question on, yes, it's true. We do not celebrate the wars, okay? And again, the reason for that is because we really stick as close as possible to nature and the nature of things, which is also our nature, And
of actually not being a person that is...
Exactly. Not vibrating the celebration and the energies
of war.
Of war. No. Because what do we want? We want alohas.
Yeah.
So, it's like my grandfather said, the two energies, that which is war and that which is aloha are two different energies, and they cannot be in the same poi bowl.
Yeah.
No work.
Sure.
So sometimes...
Which is so beautiful, but I feel that it's also, for me, it shows the symbol of to be mindful with what am I celebrating in my day-to-day, with my thoughts, with my whole being. Am I someone that is celebrating my pilikia, being my pilikia, being my drama, my trauma, or am I celebrating to be grateful?
Yeah.
To be a creative person, allow myself to be creative.
Yeah. So it's a good reminder.
Yeah, it's a very good reminder of that. And of course, it shows me on a global level what's going on this planet, to see what cultures, how they deal with those kind of things. And to see, so this, which cultures, to understand. Okay, so I understand now why certain cultures tend to go into war faster than others.
Well, it's like one of the Haumanas, one of my students who came from the Lakota tribe, just a beautiful person, and he had been on his spiritual quest for about 14 years or something. His grandfather was going to be passing on soon, and so he was pretty much instructed to go on his path, and he was considered a gatekeeper, in his tribe, and so he did. And of course, one of the places after he had been all over and came to here, Hawaii, especially to Puna. Very active, Puna.
Well, Puna is the district that actually gets overflowed with lava whenever Pele decides to remodel.
She remodels
Puna.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And for those of us who, understand this, we know that we have more than enough time to leave if we need to. or just trust if we need to do that.
That's one of the things that I want to share also, if I may. That one of the things that I find incredible with everything that happened last year here, there were no casualties.
Right.
So basically, and I think, at least in my belief, it's because the Hawaiians live so close to the Aina, to the land, and especially with Pele, with the goddess that lives in the volcano, that because of that, everybody sort of felt when it was time to pack your things and leave.
Yeah. Or if not, they had this sense of, it's going to be okay. It'll be okay. Yeah. They didn't like run in fear, like you would have expected, Yeah. And I will have to say that, yes, the Kanakas were here, of course. Hawaiians are people that were also what we call kama'aina, birthed here. They could come from other cultures, but they were birthed here. So they're called kama'ainas. But then there are also those who believe that in another time, and they were called back here. And I meet a lot of them. In fact, my grandfather spoke about them. And he'd say, listen closely. He said, because all is not what you think it is. He says, you'll meet people that will come here and they are blonde, blue-eyed, or whatever, And he said, they will say.
Yeah, like the one guy that we saw that was adopted. He looked so white, but I'm sorry, I don't want to discriminate anybody, but it was so amazing. It was the first time I saw live male hula dancing.
Yeah.
And even though he didn't look like a true, like very Hawaiian.
Well, he didn't, he wasn't.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he didn't have the physique of Hawaiian.
No.
But it was so beautiful. You could really see.
Feel him.
He felt the hula. Oh. It was just the movement, the softness, and the whole
ambiance of it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So amazing. And when his wife got in there too, it made the whole thing.
It did.
I'm so grateful I have a little video of that.
Exactly.
To remind myself.
Exactly. But it's a good reminder. And talk about people coming together. I mean, these are people that felt the calling, and so they needed to be here, And I meet them all the time, and each time I do, my grandpa used to say, maka maka uhane. In other words, look deeper in the eyes, and you will see the spirit of them. They belong here too, And welcome them.
And I think that's how it works with our whole planet.
Absolutely.
Like, for me, I feel I used to be. I feel I used to walk on this planet this plane, part of the planet,
and many others
at some point, like many others.
Yes.
And that's why I decided my soul needed this energy
to be here,
to be reminded to be here, and to wake up, because I feel like I came here to be reminded of my true essence.
Of your essence.
Yeah.
Because that's all part of your identity.
Exactly. And I needed it to be in this Hawaiian set. But that's what my soul wanted. Yeah. And every soul, has their different things. So if you're someone that is called to a different culture where you think you don't belong, don't worry. Just go for it. Just go for it. Because something inside of your system needs that.
Yes.
My body chose... or my soul or God chose for me, or whoever chose for me to have a German father, a Chinese, Ecuadorian mother.
That's what I mean.
That gives me the look that when I walk on this island, no one believes me when I say I'm not Hawaiian. And just the other day I had a lady at the supermarket, because they were like, oh, son, what are you doing? La la. And I tell her, I'm going back home. What do you mean home? I'm traveling to another island. And I'm like, no, I'm traveling back to Germany. What? Why are you from Germany? And I'm like, but no, I'm German. And then they go, no, but you look like a niece of mine.
Yes.
And then I tell them it's my mom's Chinese Ecuadorian, and I'm like, oh, that's why you look like that. But at first they don't think, they don't want to.
Isn't that something?
Think of that. And I think it just shows that like you said, my soul has a certain kind of energy.
God, yeah.
So that's why I was called here. And I know that somehow these islands will always call me.
Always.
Every now and then
Yeah.
they will call me back.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
And they are an important part of mine. And they have to do with my essence.
Yeah.
And of
Yeah.
reminding myself of this essence. And
Yeah.
and I think the important thing is, I'm not saying everybody should come to Hawaii.
Oh.
I can highly recommend it. It's beautiful. But I think if you follow your callings, you're going to be called to the places
Yep.
where you get reminded of your true
Yes.
essence.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, like I said, in my younger years, I was called to many different places and, short stays or whatever. Or like my mom was saying, when I was about 5, 6 years old, I was drawing pictures of a Japanese past, and they were beautiful, she said they were really beautiful pictures. Yeah. So and when I went to Japan, I really did resonate a lot with them, So I do believe that because prior to the continents being separated,
Because we were one.
we were one. We were one. Then I feel, because I've had people ask me, well, what's the separation all about then? Do I get any messages on that, And I said, well, there's, I'm sure, many different versions of that. For me, it's always been about, well, as spirit, our spirits just needed to have more of the experiences that we needed to have while we're in the human beingness, just needed to have that.
That
to
and one thing,
expand.
and I also think that it gave us different perspectives.
Oh boy, that's what
being-
experiences does.
Yeah, and being able, and that's one of the things that I love about my new purpose, also being part of traveling being part of my new purpose, and that I get to see all those different ideas, because in the end, they all bring us back to the oneness.
Yeah, absolutely, 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 absolutely. The stuff that my grandfather kept saying over and over again. No worries, we all in the same canoe.
Yeah.
We're in the same va'a anyway. No worries, Love them anyway.
One of the things that I want to share, because I've set a poll on my website for the name for the multicultural people for this project.
Ah, yes.
And this is actually a call out to everybody who listens to this podcast. Please let me know if I'm wrong, but so far, and I haven't by far checked on all the languages.
Yeah, so you're inviting them.
So I'm inviting everybody who knows. Maybe you can give me a different name, but so far, because the thing, I'm going to tell you, I'm trying to find a new name for us multicultural people. Because I feel multicultural, it's set together of two different words. The same as with mixedraced, or there's another word that the scientists are starting to use, which is third culture children.
Yes.
And I feel that that's also another word set together of different words. And when I was learning here, and we started talking about the multicultural children, I learned that there is a word in the Hawaiian language, and it's only that word. It has nothing else. It only means child of two different cultures, basically.
Two different.
But
cultures,
and it's just the name for someone like me
or
or
it's
us.
more commonly is for people.
Yeah.
More commonly. I mean, there are, you can make other attachments to it, but the most common
Is for the mixed ones.
People. Yes.
Yes. And that is the name Hapa. So because I learned it here, I was like, when I was sending out the poll to everybody in this project to give ourselves a new name, at the moment of this recording, Hapa is the one that most people like. And I thought that it might be because if I start looking for names for mixed race people all over in the other languages, and please tell me, because I only know of 4 languages so far. I'm going to start checking in other languages, but please, if you know a word that doesn't have negative attachments, you know, because one of the words that I remember is the word bastard, which comes from, you know, people from different cultural, or not different cultures, but different statuses in the world. But then we have, then we have the mestiz people from, but those are always to specific races. I want to see if we find maybe something like hapa word, which is just for a mixed person.
Commonly
for a mixed person. So if you have, if not, maybe I mean we're still having the poll running. So whatever word you prefer for us multiculturals, please go and vote or invent a new one. Let's invent a new one or use the hapa if that's what everybody prefers. I just want to give it out there to all of you guys. Let's create let's decide on a new name for all of us.
There you go.
But I think the reason why hapa was mainly used by everybody is because it doesn't have any negative
not attached. It's not attached to any negative attachments. And on that note, I just wanted to, before I forget it, my homana, as I was mentioning earlier, from the Dakotas, you know, who was on his 14-year spiritual quest. So when he came here and he studied with me, learned, he said that, you know, he was getting ready to go home because his father was getting ready to pass on, journey on, walk the rainbow, you know. He says to me that he has found that there's only 2 things that, because our culture, he found that our culture, Kanaka Maoli culture, and his culture are really pretty much aligned, you know, in its likeness. But there's 2 important things that isn't. And I said, what's that, you know? And he said, well, one, he said, your ancestors. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, we think of our ancestors as, you know, for special celebrations mostly. He said that's when, you know, we have a special celebrations for our ancestors, etc. And I said, oh, okay. And he says, but from what I've observed from you, that ancestors is it every day. And I said, oh yeah, every day. Yeah. And he goes, yeah, every day. And I said, okay. Yeah, it is. Yeah, every day. Every day. And he says, yeah. And he says, well, you also have, you know, your animal world. Yeah. And I said, oh yeah. And he says, they're every day too. And I said, yes, they are. Yes. Yeah, we go to the ocean, we bless our Omakuas there, and mountains, wherever. Yes, every day. And he said, And he said, your songs. And I said, He said, you have no war songs. You don't celebrate the battles. I go, yeah, that's true. We don't. And he goes, He says, well, I think I have the answer to that, but I wanted to ask you anyway. And I said, okay. He says, why is this? You know. And I said, well, in one word, okay. I said, the aloha. The aloha is our base, where we are all rooted in, and the aloha has us speaking with our ancestors all the time. You know, my auntie pops in, or my mom, or, you know, my grandfather, or, you know, when I need them, I'll just, you know, hey! And he goes, Hey? I said, yeah, you've heard me. Yeah. And he goes, yeah. I said, yeah. And he says, And I said, well, you have to understand, for me particularly anyway, I says, I also have 23 of them. And I mean, geez, for even to try to think of their names, no, I'm not going to do that. I'd be there all day long. No, I can't do that. He goes, no, you can't. No, I can't. So the aloha is, I've alohaed them, I've acknowledged them, and we're on the same wavelength with that. And so now the battles, well, my people never thought of battles as the way to go. As a matter of fact, I said in some of our mo'olelos, if a chief or someone had a hakaka or namu namu, argumentative kind of, attitude and whatnot with a neighbor or something, I said, well, you would do like ho'oponopono keala. People would come together and you would discuss it, Or if not, well, you just came to an agreement of some sort anyway. Because to battle, no. That's what we, as a group of Polynesians, as a group of Hawaiians, let's say, before we became Hawaiians, Hawaii. This was the ancient land, Hawaii. I said before we did that, even or came here, we had to be on a vibrational energy of pure aloha in order to be on those first voyages through strange waters. And I said, so we had our ancestors and we had, and I said, so we had to be. And we had to be able to communicate with nature and the stars and all of that.
Like we were talking earlier about the navigators, and of course if my mind creates my world, and if I step on a canoe with so much pilikia, I'm going to create storms around me. And I'm not going to, the canoe's going to drown.
Yes, exactly. So everybody had to be on that same page, if you will. They had to be, because all you had was stretches of ocean. And you know what? When you get out there, oh my God, you better be good with your ancestors, etc., etc. You better have it. So we have kept that. But as I was going to mention also, that whenever there was such an argument, then you really did go through a session of ho'oponopono keala. You really did come together, and it was a discussion. And the thing about that was that you stayed, or the group stayed together until it was resolved.
Until it was pono again.
That's right. So even if it took weeks and days, hey, sorry. You called it, you got it. Here it is, So, in a sense, it was the way my grandpa used to do with those runaways, Sometimes kids would run away from their parents and stuff, and they'd end up at Poiki on this land, and they'd be angry and all that, and he'd say, okay, and he'd just put them in the canoes, And there was two methods. One was he'd have them paddle out and work out all their their anger out to the ocean, because he would say, the sea, the ocean, Moana can take it, But the aina, the land, no. That's too small, too sacred. So you take everything out to the sea, So he would, and he'd paddle with them, he'd beat he would play and the drums, and he'd keep the pace for them. So as angry as they were, he would drum faster. So they'd have to paddle faster, and keep up with him, not him keep up with them, And then finally they'd work it all out, and they'd be way beyond to where you couldn't see the aina, the land anymore. And then he'd look at them and he'd go, "Pow! You folks, you okay? You pow?" And they go, "Yeah." And then he'd go, "Okay, aloha." and he'd jump out of the canoe and swim back to the land. And they would be out there. Hey! Where's that old man going?
So now they had to paddle behind him swimming?
Oh, they couldn't catch up.
Really?
Oh, no. My grandpa, that was his life. The ocean was, oh, no. Oh, no. No, they couldn't. No. In fact, it got dark, and then they couldn't even see. So he'd be back on land. And he'd light up the fire, just so they would have something. But he would light the fire. But as soon as he would hear, not so good the word, cover the fire up. So this could go back and forth. You could cover it up just as fast as they could, So pretty soon word passed all over. Oh, that old man, he kind of crazy. Poo-pooly, that one. But it would work. It would work, Or the other way was if they came in late, late at night and stuff. Okay. He would tell them, okay, you folks, here, take the leaves, go make your beds in the canoe. And the canoe would be tied to, the shore. The pohaku or, whatever. And so they would go in there and, two, because the canoe is big. And then, okay, and they're in there, and they're still grumbling and mumbling, and now they're feeding each other with the grumblings and mumblings, My grandpa would just sit there and he goes, so then he would go and, finally they fall asleep and go over there and he untie push them out. Push the canoes out into the waters where it's deeper. And now the current. And they go, hey, what's going on? Oh! They're not close to they're not tied up anymore. God damn, that old man. Oh, well, that's it. He's gone. Now he's going to go get breakfast. He's not even going to try help him. Plus, there are no more paddles. He took the paddles out. Figured, they're so angry. Okay, fine. Let them work it out. They got to figure it out. But that was his method.
And they all did.
And they all did, yeah, because he would come back and go, And they're going, we are, and then he figured, okay, they must have cooled down a little bit. So then he go out, he goes swim, comes right up on their, canoe. Aloha! Plus they cold and everything, Oh, how you folks? And as soon as if they start something out, oh, he's gone again. So, you have to get it. You have to get it. That was his method. Nature takes care of that. And he always worked with nature. So there you go, So really, this is what you're doing. You're going back. You're bringing, people's awareness now. Because that's what you're doing. You're helping them to open their doors, and to see a better place, the wellness, and to work with that. And that, yes, it's not easy, but it is simple. It really is simple.
And I think that's why I love it so much, and I think that's why it resonates so much with me, and that's why I needed it as the confirmation that I'm allowed to be that simple.
Yeah.
Because it always felt like whenever a lot of spiritual things are, I'm not saying that they're bad or wrong. They have their own, unique way of functioning.
Absolutely.
But when I was on my path looking for a spiritual solution for myself, I would end up being, finding so many things that were heavy because like your your Haumakua was saying with
The hamana, yeah.
you know, you have the
tree.
special the hamana that you would have a special day for this ancestor, a special day for that ancestor,
yeah.
another special day for that animal, and that takes out the lightness.
Yeah, because
You know,
we
but
didn't have
because
that put aside.
and in the moment, I just accept them as always being part of myself.
Yes.
And not needing to give them a special, you know, like, yeah, they'll pop in my mind when they need my attention.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And they'll be there and I'll give them my
Oh,
attention.
yeah.
You know, like the
Totally.
pohakus, like the stones that when I
Totally.
went to Vaipio, usually, I mean, I do love stones, but I don't always listen to them. And they were just drawing me to them.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
And that's to me, it always feels like they're just calling me, you know?
Yeah, there you go.
And it's that part about listening, you know, to give them and having that freedom that it's allowed to be simple.
That
It's allowed to be light.
Yes.
It's allowed to be
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
I don't need so many rules. I don't need so many boxes, so many
No.
labels.
No.
I am allowed to just feel in that moment whatever feels right in that moment to do that.
Exactly.
And
Totally.
that's like you said, that I'm allowed now. I have found that, not that I needed it. I know I didn't need it, but it's like, wow.
You gave yourself the permission.
I finally gave myself the permission, and that's one of my missions is to bring that to the people.
Yes.
Hey, you're allowed to be flexible. You know, we don't have to do anything if we don't feel like it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're allowed to move
Yeah.
in a simple way.
Yeah, really. It does not have to be complicated.
Yeah. So now I hope you guys are hearing us good, because we had a little mishap with the computer.
Yeah.
I always say my computer tells me when it's
time.
time to stop. And I just realized we've been talking about an hour and a half.
Wow.
So
That's a lot, but...
So now we're using a different method to finalize it. I hope it's okay for you guys.
Yeah, so you were mentioning about the complications.
Yeah, and to bring this to an end, I think it's so amazing to see it a little simpler. Allow yourself to it to be simpler. That we don't have to, you know, with everything, with whatever we do. I feel that the fault-finding society, like you choose it teaches us that we always have to do so much. You know, if you want to be good, you have to work hard. If you want, you know, like if you want to do this and that, you have to. So everything has to, you know,
Gel.
Yeah,
Or fit the categories.
Fit the categories.
Oh, gosh,
it has to be. You know, there's certain things you have to do in order to be a good person, you know, to be a good mother,
And you know,
to
that
be a good
kind
daughter.
of leaves spirit out of it.
Exactly. But the moment, and that's one of the things that I find so amazing, the moment you take this step back and allow yourself to surrender, right?
Yeah.
And to surrender to
the greatness.
To whatever's there.
Yeah.
To your higher guidance, to your greatness.
Yes. Oh gosh, yes.
Oh
boy, trust in it.
And become flexible to your own spirituality, you know, to allow yourself to just be that. And I think that's why it was so important for me to get the base here, because it gave me the base. I think that's why I resonated so much with it, because I was looking for it. I was brought up very Catholic, and I'm not saying I like we were talking earlier, I believe that that Jesus and the Catholic religion does teach a lot of aloha and a lot of, you know, be love with
I think
everybody
started that way.
Yeah,
it was still about that.
Yeah, it's always any religion we have on this planet. It always brings us back to love, to aloha, to harmony, to, you know, to be in that space. And it's just
how it's carried forward.
Exactly, it's how it's carried forward with anything. I mean, with anything in life, and I think that it's time for us to step out of it. Actually, and I think that's also one of the reasons why there's more and more of us, the multicultural people, on this planet with the globalization, because it's also time to step out of those boxes.
Yes.
You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
being in a struggle, I mean, my listeners know a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Struggling of being Chinese or Ecuadorian or German, what do I have to be, you know? And allow myself to be everything and nothing at the same time.
Ooh,
and come into,
I like that one.
you know, and come into that simple, you know, like just be. Anything else, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, really. You know, it's so interesting because it's like some of the emails I get, it's really cool. I mean, like from the 20s, for instance, you know, and when you're in your 20s, you're sort of like still hunting and looking and, you know, so unsure, you know. You know, in my 20s, even with all the great stuff I had, still, you know, it's just that kind of place and timing. And I think a lot of it has to do with because there comes a time where you have to draw on your experiences.
Yeah. If we don't go through everything, if we don't see our own human side, then we can't.
Yes, we cannot draw on the experiences. Yeah.
And I think being able or have gone through those things. You know?
So,
like, because you also, I mean, you had your experiences that also make you so human, so beautifully human, you know, as a teacher to show us and to go like, oh, see, she does understand.
Oh, totally.
You know?
But we won't go there.
Yeah. It's good that we don't have to go there anymore.
Oh boy, yeah. But I get these, and they're so precious because I know that they're in the age group of where they're just starting out, you know, and already they're like, okay, so I'm not really sure about this. But you know what? I look at that and I feel them. I mean, I really feel them. And I think, wow, at age 20, they're already deep in their concepts of something's missing. You know? Whereas I wasn't. I was party. And so, you know, I mean, really, you know, I didn't even think in terms of, whoa, what's the rest of the world going to do or think or any of that. But the crystal children are here.
Yeah, I know, and it's so wonderful. So if you're one listening, thank you for being there and listening and for questioning everything, because I think it's always, I always say we are perfect the way we are, but there's always something we can do a little bit better.
Oh yeah,
and there's always a little nudge of being more pono, more in harmony.
Absolutely.
In the perfect harmony, in the perfect divine being.
Absolutely. And I just love it. So yeah. Write us.
Yes. I'm going to put all the contacts and all the info below this video if you're watching the video, or if you're listening to the audio, it'll all be in the show notes. Yeah. Or on my website as well, because I'm definitely putting this interview. It was so much fun. I mean, we completely forgot the time. But
and for those of you that are going to see it also that already know me, that's cool. My website is still there. It's still www.Aloha Spirit Aunty AUNTY.com. I have to laugh because we were just trying to spell that thing. Kumu and Auntie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow, all the special links are around you. If you feel the calling, if you feel that you resonate with Kumu's vibrations or Auntie's vibrations, see if a trip to Hawaii is possible for you. If not, I think she's going to be around the world a little bit, traveling as well. But
well, Bali's coming up.
Bali's coming up.
So anybody want to join us in Bali? We're coming up.
There's another possibility for the travelers out there.
In fact, hopefully we meet up in Bali.
Yes, we have to see about that, but yeah, we'll put it out there.
That's so cool.
Once the dates are set.
Yes,
depending on the dates. But anyhow,
stay tuned.
Stay tuned for more. Thank you so much for tuning in again, for being part of this movement that we're getting started, that is being born here.
Yes.
For us multicultural people, but also for us as spiritual beings to remember what's inside of us. Thank you so much.
Mahalo nui loa. Aloha. Have a great day, evening. Blessings.
Blessings.